Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy-nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, and thanks for joining us on today's Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. I'm Jennifer Rogers Markwell, and I'm joined by Michelle Gordon. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, Michelle.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's so good to be here.
Well, tell us about yourself and why you do what you do.
Yes. So, my name's Michelle Gordon. I'm a nurse of 24 years and now a coach of the last 3 years. I have dived into this area of work based on my own journey through burnout and hitting rock bottom financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I hit rock bottom in 2016, and I'm a mum of 3 children and married, also have a beautiful husband, and life for us really did hit that very dark place. And we had no money. I was, obviously physically unwell. I was drinking alcohol to escape my life. Mentally, I was suffering, and I was navigating working full time as a nurse and working up to 7 shifts a week. And I burnt out, and it wasn't, a time in my life that I'm proud of, but it's led me to where I am now. And so now I help other people too to overcome, when they've hit burnout or when they're in a dark space like this.
And burnout is real. I for many years, I think it was a taboo subject, right? You just keep going, you keep going, you keep going. And I think it seems, I don't think we're there yet, but more people are understanding like kind of the self-love, self-help. You need to take a day and take care of yourself.
Absolutely. And, we hear that word get thrown around. It's like, the word of the moment, I guess, and it has been for a little while, but it is real. And it's something that, everyone experiences a different version of it based on, where they're at and what's going on in their life. And burnout, affected every area of my life, my marriage, our financial situation, my children, my relationships, how I was showing up at work, my mental health and my physical health. And it was impacted everything. And I thought that was when I decided I needed to find a way out of this and heal all of those areas and look at what was going on and why it was happening.
What was that moment of kind of the light bulb going off and that realism thinking that I can't keep doing this? Like, where was that moment at for you?
Yeah. So I would come home from work in obviously an emergency department, which is chaos and craziness, even on the quietest of shifts. My husband and I, we'd started a business. He'd started a business in his trade. So financially, my wage was really supporting that business. And I was, pushing myself to work 7 shifts a week. So we would have enough money, and I'd come home and escape with a glass of wine. And that would be my, release the pressure. It was like, oh, I can sit down and escape. That very quickly became 2 or 3 glasses of wine, 4. And then before I knew it, I'd finished a bottle of wine and I'd be on to my 2nd or 3rd bottle even. And this particular night, I think I was onto a 3rd bottle of wine and I passed out. My husband had gone, I think he was away actually. So he was away that night. My children were in bed and I'd passed out. And the next morning I woke up on the floor after passing out. smashed glass, smashed bottle of wine around me. Luckily, my children were still asleep, so they hadn't seen or didn't know any of this was happening. And I just thought in that moment, I'm not doing this anymore. I actually thought I had died. Like that's how I thought maybe I'm gone. Like maybe I've died here. Like I don't know. I just wasn't sure where I was, who I was, what was going on. And then when I sort of came to and realized what had happened, that was I guess one of the moments. There was actually two moments, and one of the moments, very similar, that I needed to change.
I feel like that resonates with a lot of folks, right? There's that massive stress in your job. You're coming home, you're trying to unwind. What does that look like? And where do you go?
Yeah, and I had no other coping mechanisms. I didn't know any other strategies to draw on. I just felt I was a failure. I had three children. We were trying to get this business up and running. I had to work, and I just thought I'll have to keep working to get through this and support and putting myself last, of course, as most people do. And yeah, that's what I did. So
I'm assuming you're probably hearing some similar stories that you have from folks who are working in, healthcare and running 24 hours a day and burning the candle at all ends.
yeah, so the women that I work with, where they've hit burnout or reaching burnout, in the middle of burnout, that are also suffering in, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And not everyone obviously drinks, but that they perhaps escape their life in other ways, whether it's food, overworking. There's other things, people pleasing, over functioning, overcompensating in some way, shape, or form to sort of help escape. And ultimately that fuels the process of burnout. So I went through my journey. I healed myself after about 12 months. I had a lot of people coming to me asking me what I'd done, because I was in showing up in a completely different energy, I suppose. So a lot of my colleagues started reaching out, and then a lot of friends started reaching out, and family as well. And I decided to sit down and navigate or map out, first of all, what did I do to heal myself, various other things in that period of burnout. And I wasn't actually making any progress. So when I mapped that out, I thought I could create a step-by-step process.
So one thing that I feel like resonates with burnout is kind of the conversation of money, which is why we're here and what we talk about on this podcast too. When
Yeah.
it comes to money for you, you did share some very unique stories. And this is why I think it's so powerful. If folks could hear stories like yours and learn from them and learn how to navigate moving forward. What would you say when you think of money memories, if you're going back to an original money memory that really helped shape and kind of mold your relationship with money as an adult, if you're open to sharing?
Yeah, for sure. So my parents had also had a business, and my dad was a tradesman as well, like my husband is now. And they had a business that they financially went bankrupt, had to close down the business when I was very young. And they had lots of, cars and all sorts of things, and a factory and whatnot, tied up in this business, and they lost everything. And I remember, so I was probably only 4 at the time, and I remember us having lots of beautiful things, and there being, um, a nice house and a car, and we would go to the factory. Mum would take me there, as a young child, and then all of a sudden we had nothing. Like we had nothing, and we were staying at my grandparents' house, and then all of a sudden we were moved, and we moved to this tiny little country town, and we were renting, and there was a lot of fear, lack, and scarcity around money. And there was a lot of crying and a lot of arguments, and that was my first money memory.
Do you feel that, I mean, as as you look at money now as an adult, do you think that that's had a factor in your relationship currently?
Absolutely. Yes. So that there was the imprint around my money mindset. It was something to be fearful of. It was something that caused a lot of heartache and pain. It was something that you could very quickly lose. And
You are listening to the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
Hey, it's Jennifer. I wanted to take a quick break to remind you that you are worthy to have a seat at the table when it comes to money and your finances. We, both me and my team at Platinum Wealth Management, want to meet you where you are, whether you're starting out, starting over, or have been investing for years. Reach out to us at platinumwealth.net or call us at 775-717-0001. We'd be honored to help.
And now, back to the podcast.
my mum was pregnant as well at the time. And so like there was just so many things going on that was like obviously devastating for them. But that was the imprint around money for me. Yeah, for sure.
And that ties into what you had shared your money infidelities were, right? Infidelity can be definable to anybody in many different ways, right? Whether that's you not being honest with yourself about budgeting, somebody utilizing your money for something else, whatever that looks like. But from what you were sharing, this just ties right in fluidly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I very quickly learned or believed that I just didn't want to have anything to do with money. And that at that point in my life, we started, as a 4 or 5-year-old girl, we had nothing. And it was starting from scratch. And I remember, the school uniforms, there was just so much heartache and pain about getting me ready for school and buying the things for school. And there was a lot of guilt as a young girl as well. And I just thought, oh, this is yucky. Like this money's bad, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't want to know about it. And I didn't know that at the time, but my brain was perhaps creating these beliefs. And so that had stretched, like had carried through all the way to up until a few years ago, and particularly through burnout. I had a lot of fear around money. And then, of course, my husband and I had started a business, which I guess fueled that fear even more. And I just worked super hard. And I thought if I work so hard, then I'll have something, I'll have something to show and I'll get us through. But at the same time, I didn't have a great relationship with money. So I didn't actually want to see fully what was coming in terms of our income and what we were spending. So it was just this weird relationship that I'd created from that imprint.
Well, you saw that it caused pain and you wanted to stay away from it potentially, right?
Yeah.
Fascinating. So then this kind of ties in, like your story is very fluid, actually. So then it ties into how you're utilizing money differently in your household, which is really trying to get on top of it and communicate and educate, it sounds.
Yeah. So from my journey through burnout, and when I decided that, I had to heal and I had to make a change, what came up for me was a lot of money mindset stuff.
Mhm.
And I very quickly realized that I was operating my life and my husband's, I'd, shifted this belief onto him and passed it onto him around fear, lack, and scarcity around money. And a big part of overcoming those beliefs was actually looking at our finances and being involved in it and really understanding it, and not coming from a place of fear and lack and scarcity, but coming from a mindset of, empowerment and abundance and overflow. And both of us did this sort of work together and have gone, it was just, it was almost, within that year, our business the business that he's in fully of our revenue. We increased our revenue by 300%. Our new beliefs and our new feelings around money and how the relationship that we actually have with our money now.
That's powerful. And I love that you had said that you did it together, right?
Yeah.
That's such an important element. I feel like when I'm sitting with clients, many times it'll be one or the other that comes in, not both partners in a relationship. And I always encourage that because both people should understand what's happening. Lord forbid something happens to one of you, right? That's a challenge in itself right there, mourning the loss of someone, but trying to pick up the financial pieces is a whole nother challenge. But even looking at relationships currently, I mean, that's a big factor why folks break up is because they're not communicating. There's money issues there. So I commend you for doing that together and really communicating and digging your heels in.
Yeah, 100%. And that was a big, big cause of our arguments and fights. It was almost like going back to, the how I grew up as a child and the stories that came from my parents and their relationship with money. And they ended up being very successful in creating another business and things turned around. But it was obviously my imprint years when I was, 4 or 5 years old that was those memories were stored and made. And my husband was really open to this. He'd seen me at rock bottom. He'd seen where I was at. He knew that we couldn't keep going. We had 3 little children that we also didn't want to pass this on to them. Yeah. And so that's where we both decided, well, okay, he was a little bit more hesitant than me. And he's since, we we did some workshops and bits and pieces, and then he worked for 2 years, which was really transformational in his journey and money mindset.
That's fantastic. And I was going to ask you, and you brought that up, your little ones, right? They're seeing you leading by example. What is that I mean, they're probably little, but what does that relationship look like if you're open to sharing of their relationship with money? How do you think they see it?
Yeah, as replenishable, as something that you can be empowered around and that you can create and that you can have a good relationship with. And we've got 2 teenage boys and then a 7-year-old girl. Our girl, like she's 7, she's at that imprint, I think 0 to 7 or whatever, when you make up all these beliefs about the world, and she is soaking it up. Like I can see her brain. And she has no fear around money. She's happy to ask for money. We go to our local surf club every Friday night for dinner. And she goes up to the manager and she's like, "Can I clean up some tables and wipe down everything and make some money?" And he's like, sure, Rose, off you go. And he gives her a bucket. And so at the end of the night, she's down wiping down tables and he's like, "Here you go, here's $5." And she's like, "Thanks." And like there's just this fun, like she's just has so much fun with it. I love it. So she's not scared around it and she's not um it just is something that I can see that it just comes easily to her. Do you know what I mean? Like it compared
Yeah.
to where I grew up, it was like it's just such a scary thing. Like that was how I felt. Like anything to do with money, I just didn't want to know about it. It created so much fear. And then my boys also, they're also, stepping into some independence around having money as well. And they've seen us, I guess, my husband and I, when we were, you know, burnt out and struggling and had a lot of fear, but they've also seen now at what we've created. And we always have conversations around that about that's what was happening when we didn't have a great relationship with money and where our mindset and thoughts were at. But now look what we have in our life and look what we've created in our life. And they can have that conversation with us now, which is really good.
I mean, what a life lesson you kind of taught them, right? By planting those seeds,
Yeah.
especially to see with your daughter and your sons. I mean, it's almost like breaking that negative cycle with, what you grew up with and what you experienced to be able to share with them a different educational, journey potentially.
100%. And we were with family recently, and we took our family for a drive around some of the houses in our area. We live by the beach here in Queensland, and we drove past this magnificent home, and it's on the beach. And I said to them, "Have a look at this home. It is just it's just gorgeous. It's insane." And the garage door of this house was up, and there was this. I don't even know what sports car it was. It looked like some brand new. I don't even know. It was just incredible. This bright, shiny sports car. It probably would have been around a $200,000 car or something like that. And I said, "And look at the car!" Like that. I was just like, oh, you know. And this particular family member said they can't be happy. That was the
Oh,
first. They can't be happy. And that was the first thing that came out of their mouth. And here I was like celebrating this beautiful home and what they have. And I looked at my husband and I was like, and I didn't say anything, but there was the belief that we had grown up with, that the stories and the beliefs around money that really hit home for me because I'm in such a different mindset now around money. So yeah, interesting.
yeah, it definitely is. I mean, people being so close to your circle, right, to have such a different money mindset than what you do.
Yeah.
But you've also put in the work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you
So
so much for sharing and being raw and vulnerable. I appreciate it greatly.
yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me. It's been such a great conversation.
Well, thanks again, and hopefully you will join us for our next Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.